One of the questions I've been asked a lot relating to this upcoming sale is, why are you parting with this really great art collection? My dear wife Kitty died last year, and that hit me pretty hard. I decided I would need to do something drastic in 2017 to reset my clock and look to the future rather than to the past. I just woke up one morning and thought, I'm going to sell the collection, and I'm going to memorialise my marriage, and I'm going to clear the decks so that I've got some empty space on the walls back home, and maybe start all over again and look to the future.
Warwick and Kitty's collection is a truly significant and great collection because it includes some of the best in terms of modernist practice. Major and significant works by Colin McCann, Don Binney, Ralph Hodery. There's a swag of, the major modernists are included there. But what makes the collection really lovely is that it's not just that. It's also got a plethora of wonderful smaller works, works on paper, graphic works and editions, which really flesh it out and make it extremely accessible for many, many collectors.
I started going to dealer galleries in the 1960s. I didn't start collecting till 1969. It really was a phenomenon in the late 60s and early 70s, the dealer gallery scene. The openings were true civic events, and they would be crowded. For a show by someone like Don Binney, there would be a queue of people. They had we don't open till 5 o'clock policy, and the door would be resolutely closed at 5 o'clock, and then it would open, and the crowds would surge up the stairs, and there'd be red stickers on everything in 10 minutes. The main memory I have is of their gallery being completely full of people, drinking cheap wine and often not even looking at the art, just socialising. But it was a phenomenon, really was.
He started collecting around about the time that dealer galleries were just getting underway in New Zealand, and Auckland was the centre for art. He was adventurous enough to support Barry Lett right from the very early days in 1966 when he first opened up. Warwick talks about going down in his lunch hour with his, wrapped up greaseproof paper sandwiches to sit at Barry Lett's gallery and to look at the art. So he was somebody who really took to the idea of having the opportunity to see works by living artists. He already was really well versed in historical art. He'd travelled, and with his dad he'd been to England and seen all those major collections, but he obviously really connected with the artists of his own time, and he wanted to support them.
When I was at art school, no one bought or collected, or the idea of, there was no infrastructure for a young artist to move into. You just did it because you wanted to be an artist, and you became a postie or something as well. And in the 70s, a market started to happen.
Friends who saw the work that Kitty and I were collecting and treated it as a bit of a joke, gradually came round to thinking it might be a bad idea to get involved. So that's when Peter Webb and myself invented the art co-op collecting concept, and the first one we set up was called the Prospect Collection. They had 20 members who in later decades mostly went on to become collectors themselves. So that was another plus for me. I felt, hey, I'm spreading the word, I'm helping to get this cultural phenomenon rolling.
And did it interest you, this notion of a whole group of people getting together and buying paintings?
Well, because we were sort of new at it, we felt there was confidence in talking to and being with a group that, and some of the group knew or had been collectors for a while, so they sort of knew what they were doing.
That was my motivation in trying to get it going. I'm a very keen art collector personally, and a supporter of New Zealand artists who need all the support they can get. And we haven't got any Medicis or Rockefellers in New Zealand to support art, so The only other way around that problem is to get people joining together to do it.
He collected artists right from the beginning of their careers, really. He collected people who were responding to the issues and the ideas of the time. For instance, with his collecting of Don Binney's work, and he's collected an important painting by Don Binney, which is The Last Flight of the Kakapo. He recognised that Don was somebody that was deeply involved with conservation issues and ornithology, so he was really buying a little piece of New Zealand history at the same time as he was buying this artwork. The other works that really represent this particular period in New Zealand art history, the period when nationalism and landscape were becoming important aspects of building a national identity, are the works by Dick Frizzell, which are in the collection. He got interested in that whole archetypal New Zealand farm scenery, the macrocarpas, the forestry.
Those early ones did start to became used as sort of environmental statements about the land and the man's use of it, but that wasn't, I never intended that to happen at all. That the milling, because you get the seedlings and the mature trees and the dead stumps, so you've got the bald hills and the just seeded hills and the mature hills, so you've got 4 or 5 levels of pattern going on, So I managed to keep them flat and modernist, what Patrick Reynolds used to call them minimalism with lots in it, which I thought was a nice way of putting it. It's interesting thinking back, because he bought that, so Jude and I would be on the invitation list to those fabulous dinner parties that he had. I forgot all about that. So in actual fact, when Warwick turned up at my show at the old petrol station up there, I definitely would have known who he was, and probably got quite a little bit excited, thinking, well, he might buy something, And of course he did, he went nuts, it was fantastic.
Warwick has a long history as an advocate for contemporary art. Warwick Brown and Peter Webb also initiated, had the brainchild, which was Art New Zealand, and together on a brass razoo they put that publication together, which still stands as our leading arts magazine in New Zealand.
One of the things that's interesting about Warwick as a collector is that he never goes for the painting that's sort of like an easy work to live with. He's much more interested in the art that is going to last and continue to intrigue and engage him. So I think that's his skill as a collector, is that he wasn't interested in the decor, he wasn't interested in getting something to match the curtains. He was interested in getting something that would last, that would continue to give him something right the way through his living with it. And of course Kitty was somebody who supported him in that as well. And she was the person who first bought a work by Colin McCann, for example. So she was somebody who was quite adventurous in her tastes and her interests as well.
Because the collection was, hand-selected by Warwick and Kitty, it's a wonderfully democratic collection. What you see here is works which are selected, based on their own thoughts about the time and place in which they were. There's a number of very, very strong works by Ralph Hotary, a very important work by Tony Thomason, works by Maddox, a host of works by Don Driver, Robert Ellis, a beautiful green work by Milan Merkisic, a major cutout by Rick Killeen. It truly is a significant and fascinating collection.
Tony's work was quite tough, especially during the 60s. He did a lot of very spooky paintings of crucified Christs and demons, and I bought a few of these home and they scared the children, and Kitty in particular, and so I had to take them back to the gallery. I always loved expressionism, art that had guts and grabbed you by the throat, so our early collection particularly tend to have quite a bit of work like that, which I'm very proud of it, and I'd like to feel that people can see what Kitty and I put together over the period. And I've never seen the collection all hung in one place ever, because I've never had enough space to do that. I like the idea that the other collectors, be they older or younger, can get some enjoyment out of works that have given me huge pleasure over many decades. And what other reasons are there? No, that's probably it.